What's going on, everyone? The Silph Boulder Cup is taking place this January. From January 6th to January 31st, you have the opportunity to take place in the first ever themed Boulder Cup on the Silph Road. So how do you take part in it? Well, if you go to the Silph website, silph.gg, you can actually find the Boulder Cup rules. So let's actually scroll down and get into it. I want to make it easy for you guys to find a Pokemon that you can take place in the tournament with. So let's go through the rules. Really quickly, you can only have Pokemon in the Great League, which means they have to be under 1500 CP. Also, they must be either Steel, Rock, Fighting, or Ground type Pokemon. They can be dual types, but you have to have at least one of those types in that Pokemon that you're taking place. You can choose 6 Pokemon to register in the Silph League. However, you can only use 3 at a time against an opponent. If you want to read more about these rules, go ahead and head over to the website and check it out yourself. There's a whole lot of rules here, how to compete, how to find a local Silph Road representative to help you take part in it, all of that. But if you want to read those rules yourself, head to the website. Right now, I just want to help you guys try to figure out what Pokemon can you even use in this tournament. So, like I said, the rules are on silph.gg, but another website that I really like is PokeBattler. I really like PokeBattler, and I'm going to be showing you guys how I go through PokeBattler and a couple other websites like GamePress to help me figure out what Pokemon I'm going to be using for the Boulder Cup. Hopefully these things will help you guys figure out what Pokemon you should be using for PvP too. But before we go into PokeBattler, let's check out our Pokemon inventory. You should open up your Pokemon inventory as I'm going through all of these Pokemon in this video and see if you have anything that could match up, and you could also use it in the Boulder League. I'm going to be teaching you how to sort through your Pokemon. So let's go into our inventory. At the top in the search bar, Pokemon Go has so many search tools. Check this out. If you type CP minus 1500, everything that you can put into the Great League that's under 1500 CP will show up. Not only can you display everything that's under 1500 CP, but you can also specify it by type. So put CP minus 1500, the and sign, and I could say rock. And then it'll show up everything that is under 1500 CP and rock type. You can even search for dual type Pokemon that are in the right range for the Great League by searching CP minus 1500 and rock and water. So that would turn up my Kabutops. Actually, and even Corsola is a rock and water type Pokemon. But check out this Kabutops. This is an example of a Pokemon that I actually could put into the Boulder Cup. Any Pokemon that you're putting into the Boulder Cup, you really want to have that third move on it, that second charge move, because there's going to be Pokemon coming at you with all kinds of crazy types, so you want to make sure that you have a variety of moves, so that way you can counter almost anything. So check out this Kabutops, and it was Rock Smash, Stone Edge, and Water Pulse. It still might not be the best Pokemon that I could use in my team, but this is just an example of a Pokemon that you could have. Also, let's take a look. How about Rock and Dark type? You guys know that'll be Tyranitar. So Tyranitar also might not be the best Pokemon to include into the Boulder Cup, but just for example, check it out. You want to make sure you have that third move. You could put this into the Boulder Cup, and that Fire Blast is going to give you some coverage against those Steel types that might be coming at you, because remember, people are going to be using Fighting, Rock, Ground, and Steel type Pokemon. It's going to cover type advantage a lot better than a Bite Crunch Tyranitar would. So let's actually also look at what else I have. CP minus 1500. And maybe you could even use a Poliwrath. Check out my Poliwrath right here. It's 100%. It has Bubble, Hydro Pump, and Dynamic Punch. Obviously, Hydro Pump isn't going to be the best. If I was going to use this Poliwrath, I'm actually going to TM it to get rid of Hydro Pump. But I like Dynamic Punch, I like Bubble, and we'll actually get into what GamePress and also PokeBattler says about Poliwrath. Once you're in PokeBattler's website, you can see right there at the top it says PvP PokeDex. So you can actually find there. This website is full of all kinds of tools, guys, but the PvP PokeDex is amazing because you can look up each Pokemon, and underneath of that, it'll show you a whole bunch of counters that you can actually use to fight against things. So even Skarmory itself, being another Steel type Pokemon, Steel and Flying, you can use that against your Melmetal. So you can really memorize all these counters. I highly recommend. Once you pick your team of 3, whatever that team is, start memorizing all the things that you need to watch out for, so that way you know when to use a shield and you know when to switch out if somebody uses these counters against you in the Boulder Cup. So you can take the time to do that, and I highly recommend that you do. But if you're still not sure where to even start, which Pokemon you want on your team, you want to go over to Rankings. So choose Rankings, and then you can pick Great League. You can look at top 24, counters, or Pokedex. So let's just look at the top 24. These are the top 24 PvP Pokemon being used, not just in the Boulder Cup, but PvP wide. Scroll down and you can see there's Pokemon such as Umbreon, Azumarill, Altaria, Cresselia, Lantern, Skarmory. So there's Skarmory at number 6. It's actually one of the Pokemon that we can use in the Boulder Cup. A lot of people are going to be using Skarmory in the Boulder Cup. It has great type coverage. It's one of those Pokemon that maybe you didn't save, but if you happen to have a Skarmory in your inventory, it's going to be a great asset for you, and we'll dive into that when we get to Game Press. Let's keep going though. Hitmontop is number 7. You can use a Hitmontop with Counter and Stone Edge. You could also use Melmetal. Melmetal is turning out to be really overpowered. It's really awesome in PvP matches, and on Game Press they say if Melmetal can be used in a PvP tournament, it will be used. So be expecting to see Melmetal. And Melmetal should have Thunder Shock and Rock Slide. Next up you've got Fortress with Bug Bite and Earthquake. Fortress is really good in PvP too. I see a lot of people using it. So if you have a Fortress, that could be a great asset to your team. Steelix is next up with Dragon Tail and Earthquake. After that, you've got Sudowoodo with Counter and Stone Edge. After that, Quagsire with Water Gun and Earthquake. And then Gliscor with Fury Cutter and Earthquake. Finally, Medicham with Counter and Psychic. Medicham is going to be a big contender in the Boulder Cup. Be looking out for those Psychic type moves, because remember, Fighting type Pokemon are weak to Psychic type moves. If you've ever soloed a Machamp, you might remember using a Mewtwo or an Alakazam or an Espeon to knock out that Machamp raid. And finally under that, you've got Registeel and Machamp and Hariyama. These Fighting type and Steel type Pokemon can be used in the Boulder Cup, so all of these could be assets to your Boulder Cup team. Now, those are the correct movesets and everything, and like I said, if you pick any of these Pokemon, I would come back to them. For example, let's pick Skarmory. If you click on the Pokemon, it'll tell you the best movesets that it should have, and it'll show you all the counters that you need to watch out for. So for example, if you're using Skarmory, you might want to watch out for Hitmontop. So let's dive deeper into what Pokemon we actually might want to use. I want to say shout out to Ryan Swag. You might know him as Swag Tips on YouTube. He wrote this article called The Boulder Cup Meta on Game Press. Absolutely fantastic article. If you have time, I would absolutely check it out, kind of beef it up. But I'm going to give you guys the basics of what he has to say. Starting out with Medicham, it should know Counter and Dynamic Punch along with Ice Punch. Medicham was literally built for the Great League, maxing out at 1431 CP. It's a great fighter. It's got great type matchups. If you've ever soloed a Machamp with an Alakazam or a Mewtwo or an Espeon, you remember that Psychic type Pokemon are super effective against fighting types. So this fighting and Psychic type Pokemon is a beast, and it's going to be great in the Boulder Cup. Let's go down to Wishcash. Wishcash is going to be another power play Pokemon in the Boulder Cup. It should know Mudshot and Mud Bomb along with Blizzard. Wishcash is actually the fastest, most powerful ground type Pokemon in the Great League. So we've seen this be used all over the board in PvP. Wishcash is a great competitor. And if you don't have a Wishcash, you could use Marshtomp. It's not as good as Wishcash, but it still will get the job done. Marshtomp should know Mudshot, Mud Bomb, and Surf. Ryan Swag calls it a baby version of Wishcash. With its access to Surf, it becomes pretty powerful in the Boulder Cup. However, you need to watch out for Breloom. Because of that grass and fighting type Pokemon, the grass types with the Seed Bomb could take out your Marshtomp. So let's actually go down to Breloom. Breloom, you want it to know Counter and Seed Bomb along with Dynamic Punch to get that type coverage. If you see a Pokemon like Wishcash or Marshtomp, you can definitely fire off that Seed Bomb. It's going to be a great advantage to your team. And of course, Dynamic Punch is going to come through whenever you're fighting any rock type Pokemon. Breloom is the only grass type strong enough to bring it into the Boulder Cup. So that's the only Pokemon that's grass type that you really need to worry about in the Boulder Cup. Let's go down to Flygon. Flygon is dragon and ground type Pokemon. Not a lot of people are expecting to see Flygon, so if you're using it, you might have a quick little advantage because Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw is actually one of those moves that is going to deal neutral damage, so even if you just need to smash through a bunch of Pokemon, Flygon might be a good asset to your team. Let's go down to Poliwrath. Poliwrath should know Bubble or Mudshot along with Dynamic Punch and Ice Punch. My Poliwrath that you saw earlier knew Bubble and Hydro Pump, so I'm going to be TMing Hydro Pump to get rid of it and get Ice Punch instead. And obviously I'm going to keep Dynamic Punch so that way I can smash through a bunch of rock type Pokemon. If you have the legacy move of Mudshot, even better. But Bubble seems to be pretty good on Poliwrath. Next up, you've got Hitmonchan. You want it to know Counter in either Ice Punch, Thunder Punch, Fire Punch, Brick Break, or Close Combat. Hitmonchan has such wide type coverage for the Boulder Cup. There's so many movesets that could come in handy for you depending on how you're going to play it. Fire Punch is going to come in handy, especially if you see a Melmetal on the playing field, because remember, fire type moves will melt steel Pokemon. So let's actually talk about our steel Pokemon. Skarmory. Skarmory is going to be a big contender in the Boulder Cup. Expect to see a lot of Skarmory. It's going to have the best movesets of Air Slash and Sky Attack. Here's the cool thing about Skarmory, you probably don't need to invest in that third move, another charge move, because Air Slash and Sky Attack are Skarmory's best moves. Just keep using those. It takes advantage of stab. You're going to be great. Now, if you're like me and you don't have a Skarmory, you want to use other flying type Pokemon like Glysaur and Gligar, which are also flying and ground type. Their best movesets are going to be Fury Cutter or Wing Attack, along with Aerial Ace and Earthquake or Night Slash. Of course, if you don't have a Glysaur that's under 1500 CP for the Great League, you might want to look into your Glygars and power it up to the cutoff. However, if you're using Gligar or Glysaur, make sure that you stay away from Dig. As Ryan Swag says, it doesn't really handle the battlefield very well. It doesn't do enough damage to make it worthwhile to power up Dig all the way. So Gligar and Glysaur are okay choices. Now, Magcargo. If you want to melt those steel type Pokemon, like I said, a fire type like Magcargo could come in handy. You want to use Ember and Stone Edge. It has other charge moves that are fire types, but why not diversify your move sets, get the fire type fast move, and get Stone Edge for the charge move. So that way you have a little bit better coverage, and also we know how powerful Stone Edge is. So maybe you want to use Magcargo. Next up, we've got Melmetal. Melmetal across the board, no matter if it's the Boulder Cup or just a regular PvP match, a good Melmetal with a decent moveset is a great asset to any team that you put it on. If Melmetal is allowed in PvP tournaments, Ryan Swag says you can bet that we're going to see Melmetal. So just like Skarmory, if you don't see a Skarmory, you're probably going to see Melmetal. Melmetal should have Thundershock, Thunderbolt, and or Rock Slide. So if you're lucky enough to have one of those and you had enough candies to power it up, or just get it to that cutoff of 1500 CP, you're going to see that Melmetal in there. If you don't have a Melmetal because you don't have enough candies, Magneton or a powered up Magnemite might be a good substitute. Those are like the discounted Melmetals. Or you could use Steelix. Steelix could know Dragon Tail, Crunch, and Earthquake. However, here's the thing about Steelix. It has great power, but it's so slow. You don't really see Steelix in a lot of PvP tournaments because it's just kind of clunky, but it does deal a lot of damage. So if you have a Steelix and that's all you got, great, use Steelix. And if you don't have Steelix, Metagross, your Community Day Metagross with Bullet Punch, Meteor Mash, and Earthquake could also do a great job. But also similar to Steelix, it's kind of clunky. You gotta watch out. You gotta know when to pull it back. You gotta know when to use those shields. Steelix and Metagross are gonna be two kind of trickier contenders to use in the Boulder Cup. And also I want to show you guys one other website, PvPchart.com. If you want to brush up on all of your type effectiveness, check out PvPchart.com. Instead of printing this out though, I would recommend that you really just start memorizing it. Start with the Boulder Cup Pokemon, start looking at the fighting, ground, steel, and rock type Pokemon. At least try to memorize those 4 types and get those at a time, so that way for the next league when we have to memorize the next 4 types possibly, you're going to just add on to your knowledge. So PvPchart.com, absolutely check it out. And other than that, guys, I just wanted to give you some quick tools for how to choose Pokemon for any PvP league. So I hope that this was helpful to you at all. I just wanted to give you something to help you with the Boulder Cup coming up this weekend. But the number one thing is just remember to relax, have fun, have a good time, and smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new, and I will be sure to show you guys the results of after I take place in the PvP tournament this weekend. Good luck in your own competitions. Remember that you have until January 31st to take place in the Boulder Cup in the Silph Road. So good luck everybody, and I'll see you guys in the next one.